How goes? So like me, you've realized that the live music industry has been flipped upside down. COVID-19 has hit the planet hard, and right now it's a little uncertain when live venues will reopen. But most performers make their income from, well, performing. So what are we going to do? What are we really going to do? Live streaming, in my opinion, is the answer, and it's something that's been around for a while, but now more than ever it's vital. My name is Johnny Luck, and you're watching part 1 of my live streaming guide for performers, singers, and musicians. To stream from your PC, you're going to need an app called OBS Studio. Don't bother with Streamlabs OBS, that's more for gamers than for performers. So let's download OBS Studio. There's a link in the description below. When you get to the page, you're going to choose the appropriate version depending on your operating system. Since I'm Windows, I've selected Windows and downloaded it. Once it's downloaded and you can install the application, and just make damn sure to install the default folder. Trust me, don't go messing around. Now that OBS Studio is installed, we run the app and we have a look at what we've got here. All right, I know that the first time looking at OBS Studio, the layout may be a bit daunting, but never fear, your savior is here. I'm going to run you through the very basics. From the main view, OBS Studio is divided into 3 main sections. There's the familiar menu bar at the top, our streaming preview window in the middle, and at the bottom we've got all the docs of the dashboard. With the menu bar at the top, there are familiar buttons here, but let's concentrate on just 2 new ones. We've got profile menu, where streaming settings are saved, and our scene collection menu, where scenes and their sources are saved. There's a lot of sibilants there for you. So let's start off by, before we move on, let's just set up your first session. So let's create a new profile, and we're going to call this Live Stream Landscape. And we're going to make another one here just for scene collection as well. We're going to go new, and we're going to add in here live stream landscape. Okay, so that now by looking at the top, we can make sure that both are selected, and they are, so that's sweet. The next section is the preview window. This is what your stream will look like. Now, you have the option of changing to studio mode, which is cool, but this is more for performers who have someone helping them during their live stream, who can tinker and engineer on OBS while you do what you do best, which is perform. Since I work alone because of the fudging lockdown, I'll avoid studio mode for now and just stick with the normal preview window. Our last section are the docs at the bottom. There are 5 basic sections. First is scenes. This lists the different scenes for your stream. Then second is sources. This lists what is visible and audible in your stream for that particular scene. This is our audio mixer. This lists the sources with sound and their volume controls. Fourth is our scene transitions, used to create different scene switching effects. And finally, our controls, which is our start streaming, start recording, studio mode, app settings. So just an important thing to remember, in OBS Studio, there is no undo button. So to avoid too many mistakes, make damn sure you're on the correct profile and scene collection. As you can see at the top, we are. So each platform is different for many different reasons. The platform you choose should be based on your amount of followers, your target audience, and expected video longevity. In my opinion, Facebook is for marketing, Instagram for growing your audience, and YouTube is for keeping your streams searchable and archived. So choose accordingly, have fun with it, doesn't really matter, to be honest. By the way, you could use your mobile phone to stream instead of your PC, but when streaming direct from the various mobile apps, you'll be limiting yourself to your phone's hardware and the streaming app's own software and compression. So I suggest avoiding that. It's not going to sound great. So now we kind of understand the layout. Let's move on to starting the setup. We're going to set up the recommended settings for HD 720. Okay, which is a safe bet for streaming in the beginning. These settings will work for any landscape-oriented streaming platform, like Facebook or YouTube. We open settings. Takes a little bit of time on my one. I apologize. But yet again, I know it all looks daunting, but it's really simple. Let's ignore general for now. Nothing needs to be changed there. And we're going to move on to our first section. Let's start with stream. Now, select stream. And so we have the services drop-down menu. That lets you select your streaming platform. I generally leave mine on custom and then fill in my own details there myself, but you decide what you want. So there are two elements necessary to stream. You're going to need the server URL, which is a constant URL for the streaming platform that you are sending your stream to, and the stream key. This is the specific key that will be used for your stream to make it unique for the platform. To set up, you just need to copy and paste the server URL and the stream key into the correct fields. Simple. I'm not going to bother with that because that really is nice and simple. So I'll leave you that to do that yourself. When setting up OBS Studio, it's important to know not only what platform you're streaming to, but also your internet speed and what your PC specs can handle. So before we move on, I'd suggest running a speed test to find out your upload speed. So I'll put a link in the description below, and as you can see, mine's here, 5 megs, not bad, a little slow, South African, you know. The higher your video bitrate could potentially would be based on your upload speed. So an upload speed of 5 megs should be more than enough for HD 720. You'll also need to check your PC properties and find out your processor power. So you're going to right click on PC, click properties, and you'll see here, once it's loaded, mine is 2.4 gigahertz, which is adequate at best. The higher your processing power, the faster your encoding speed, so it's a bit low for what we want. Back to settings, let's move on to output. This is where it gets complicated for most first-time users, so let's keep it real simple. A video bitrate, I would suggest between 1,000 and 3,000. I'm going to keep mine at 2,000 there. But this will depend on your internet connection. Then for encoder, this depends on your CPU. If you have the CPU power, use X264. Otherwise, you can use NVENC. If you don't have NVENC as an option, you can use QSV. Now, I use QSV generally because it uses the least amount of CPU power. And then for audio bitrate, we'll stick with 128 kilobits. But depending on the amount of different instruments you're sending, you could raise this, but I see no real reason to. So that's the output done and dusted. Hard parts over, guys. Let's breathe a sigh of relief. Next, we'll look at the audio menu. The section you can kind of glance over and skip. As long as you set it once, you shouldn't have to change it, well, ever again. So the first section, the top, you've got your sample rate. So make sure your sample rate is on 44.1 kilohertz. You could increase it, but then you'd have to change everything else to 48. You'll need to make sure your DAW and or audio interface is the same, or you'll sound weird, like fudging weird. So make sure they're all the same. Next, you want to disable all of these. Make sure they're all disabled. This makes it a lot easier for controlling audio in each individual scene rather than off here. Lastly, for settings, we have video. This section is largely dependent on the platform you're streaming to. But we're setting up for HD 720. So let's make our base resolution and our output resolution the same at 1280 by 720. We can leave the downscale filter on bicubic, not important to change, and we can set our common FPS values to 30. Cool. Now that our settings are all in and sorted, let's go back to the preview screen, close settings, and click save. Cool. And that's all the settings you need to stream at HD 720. In the description below, I've added a short summary of the recommended settings for HD 720, HD 1080, and 4K. So as I said before, there is no undo button, but also there is no save button. But that's okay. OBS Studio is saving all the time to the profile and scene collections you've set up. And when you close OBS Studio, you'll reopen and find yourself on the last thing you closed. Brilliant. So that concludes part 1 of my live streaming guide for performers, singers, and musicians. In part 2, we'll tackle adding scenes, adding sources, and the very basics of audio setup. Till next time, I'm Johnny Luck. And if you enjoyed this video, please take the time to like and share and to hit that subscribe button for fudge cakes. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or other reflections, you can hit me up in the comments. As well, if you found this very free video helpful but would like to contribute for it, the link to my digital tip jar is in the description below. Please go nuts. The hustle is real. We're all struggling in these most uncertain times. But if there's anything I can suggest, it's that we have to use this time to learn, adapt, and grow. Cool. Cheers, dudes. Oh, I needed a cough so bad.